and give us a, as a contact point. It was handled under a fax like this, and we just fax that out to all the fire departments and emergency organizations, and it gives the contact numbers. And then what our goal is to establish a tier of communications. Now, the 911 center is sitting there, they're going to handle all the emergency personnel. They're going to handle all the emergency traffic. They got their hands full. Somebody calls in, they get a question, okay, refer them to us at 39, 40, or there'll be a list of numbers here. We have them all listed out. And it'll be manned daily, and that's where we will be. The shelters will be manned by volunteers, and what we'd like to do is, I've got a state briefing every morning of the EOC is open at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm supposed to be there. I'm supposed to pick up the phone, call this number. Hooks me into a conference call, and they tell us what the situation is. So at that point, shortly after that point, I would like to have a morning briefing, and this can also be set up either in person or by conference call. As soon as I'm done there, probably about 8 o'clock in the morning, we can gather information there, and then we can compile it, figure out what we need, and we can distribute it, okay, out to the shelter points. Now, is every shelter in the county going to be open every time? I doubt it. A lot of times when we got flooding, we've opened up senior citizens, and we didn't have any in Smithburg before. We always used the fire department, but now we'll have, we've got 2 others up there that are possible shelters, or probable shelters to use. We've got the FRN building, which is the old Smithburg grade school, which has cooking facilities and large areas that we could use cots and stuff in if we had to. We've got the AA, the Dodge County Ambulance Authority, that can be used as they have a large garage area that's heated and cooled. And we have Smithburg Fire Department. Theirs isn't cooled. They have the large garage area, and that's what we've always used in the past. But they've got a small kitchen, very limited feeding facilities. What we looked for was someplace that had feeding facilities and or toilet facilities and or sleeping facilities or space for sleeping, okay, or sit down, rest, cool off, whatever. Now, like Smith School and the Grange, they neither one have air conditioning. They have small areas. The Grange has small areas air conditioning, but the larger facility doesn't. The big room isn't air conditioned. Now, the Smith School, I don't think any of it's air conditioned because they only got a 60 amp service, electric service, so that means that they couldn't run too much in there.
What do you want, like, let's say, because I live like up Big Isaac area, way at the end of Harrison County and Doddridge. Like, we have a pretty big church there that has the barn down there, barn part. We're talking about we have the kitchen, we have the bathroom, it's huge to make a shelter.
One of the things
is Banks out that way?
Banks is that would be your community, would be your area. But one of the things that we've talked to, and I've done this not at length, but different times to different peoples, that I've talked to the ministers around the county, and of course the churches have always been available. We've used the one at the top of the hill there at, what's the one at the top of the hill, Salem? Mount Olive. I couldn't think of it out of my head. We've used Mount Olive 2 or 3 times, and they've been real good to help us. We've used at Center Point, we used the fire station at Center Point, or McClellan, but we also use Cascara Church. And a lot of times we get flooding in between the points and we can't get people back and forth. So I know Ori and them opened up Cascara Church one time when it was cut off at Skeleton. They couldn't travel 23, but there was a whole clump of people there, so they...
That's what we did this last time when the electric was off everywhere that time.
Yeah.
So that church had electric.
Okay.
So people could go there and use water and electric.
That's right. The big problems, the electric's not going to be off every time.
No.
We're not going to have knee-deep snow every time. We're not going to have flooding every time. Every time something happens, it's going to be different. And we're going to have different problems to take care of. We refer to those as special conditions. Now, what we've done is we're gonna try this, I'm gonna write it all into a plan. I wanted to run this by everybody tonight, and then I'm gonna try to construct a plan, and that'll be everything in the plan. And then I'll get the county, I'll submit it to the county court and get them to approve it, and then I'll do one more proofreading of it and get another set of eyes on it. And look for spelling errors and stuff like that. I'm still going through circling stuff in the book. But I started out with Ritchie County's plan, and I figured out it wasn't going to work because they're a different region. Everything that worked in Ritchie County, they use the Ohio Valley Red Cross, where we're out of Fairmont and Clarksburg. They use Region 4, isn't it?
It's 5 and 6.
5 and 6. Anyway, we're 7 and 8, or 7. Nothing was compatible, so I went back to the state guide, and that's where the first sheet I gave you. Those are all the state and federal regs that everybody starts with. That's as pure as it gets, that first sheet. And that tells me all the numbers that I have to have, all the areas I have to cover and everything. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get a plan up for Doddridge County that I can take a book down and give it to John. I can put a book up here. We can take a book up to the health department. Everybody, I'm going to get all that printed, copied, bound, and then we can do an update to it yearly. And it's been quite a task, but I've saved communications to last, because communications last summer was the biggest problem we had. No one could talk to anybody. The phone systems went down because electric was off, and then when we put generators on the phone boxes, people were stealing the generator. So, and then we had people calling in, turning their buddies in because he knew he stole the generator because he had electric and he didn't. I mean, you know, I thought Doddridge County was more intelligent than that. But anyway, things went one way or another. But what we'd like to do is start out with a daily briefing. We're going to try to work this out. Now, I've got some things working. We're going to have the web page that we can update daily. I've got the telephone system. We can leave a message on the telephone system. If you call 3940 right now, it tells you you've reached the Doddridge County Office of Emergency Services. If you have a message, if it's true emergency, call the 911 center. If you don't, you have a problem. And I check the phone daily, 8 o'clock every morning, or when I come down to the office, I call and check for new messages. I've had 2 people call in just to check to see if I was checking the messages. They leave me a message just to see if I was checking the messages. And I call them up and I say, yes, I'm checking the messages. But we can leave a message on there for a daily. We can send, the fire departments are all set up on faxes. We get from the 911 center on every run what's called a rip and run. And that's the report of the fire with all the times and stuff on it. So we'll utilize that system, and we'll just send a fax out to all the fire departments every day. So any of the shelters that are fire departments will be fine. Now, Smith School doesn't have telephone in. Smith School doesn't have fax capability. The Grange, out at Oxford Grange, doesn't have telephone in it. They don't have. So we're going to have to set up some alternate contact points out there, and or maybe just put a radio out there, a unit with a radio in it, so we can have some contact. We may end up just physically sending somebody there every day to update them, excuse me. But I haven't worked that out yet. But we can go to all over the county. Now, most of the shelters are down 50. If you look at the list, they cover from Greenwood to the county line both ways. We've got 23 covered. We've got north, south in the county covered, and we've got east and west in the county. So we've got the whole county pretty well mapped out as far as population goes. What we used was, this is an old map that we did back in 2004.